Do you know how to write the essays based on set books? If you don't, or if you know and you'd like to perfect, then you're in the right place, because in this video we are going to learn how to write essays based on set books. You can get my sample KCSE prediction essays at my website or our website. Just click the link in the first comment or in the description. An essay has 3 parts. The first part is the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The introduction has 2 marks. The body has 12 marks because it has 4 paragraphs, each paragraph talking over a different point. And each paragraph has got 3 marks. And then we have the conclusion, which is 2 marks. And finally, the rest of the marks goes to your language, how you use the language. So let's try to perfect it. In the introduction, you ought to have a good introduction. And we have 2 types of introduction. That is the general introduction and the paraphrasing. Okay. Before we define these terms or we explore these terms, we have the factors that we are supposed to consider when writing the introduction. Number 1, it should be short or brief. Number 2, you can mention the text. And number 3, you can mention at least 2 characters. Having said that, we have the things that we're supposed to avoid when writing introduction. When you include these, you are likely to be penalized. And number 1, definition of terms. Never define any term in your introduction. And number 2, repeating the content or the words in the question. Never do that. And number 3, it's actually referring to the content. Don't do that at the introduction because you're supposed to write your content in the body. The general introduction is one way that you can introduce your work. You just talk about a general truth that you can relate to the question. For example, if it's about election, most of the time people tend to elect leaders based on what they offer them rather than considering the qualities. And then in the end, they end up suffering because of their poor choice of leaders, and then relate that to the question. So that is the general. Very simple. And number 2, we have paraphrasing. In this case, you just take the word in the questions and use the synonyms, and then follow that are those guidelines of introduction writing. Me here I have a question and a sample introduction that I'm going to read, but if you want to get the details, visit our website. Citizens have a role of voting in men and women of honor. When they elect selfish leaders, they end up suffering themselves. Write an essay in support of this claim, basing your illustrations on John Lara's The Samaritan. For this, we are going to formulate a sample general introduction, from general, and then you're going to mention something specific. And this is what we got. Listen keenly. In the contemporary society, people often elect leaders based on their promises rather than their leadership qualities. This approach can have disastrous consequences, as many prioritize personal gain over serving the public once they take office. This is vividly portrayed by Ted King and Seymour as illustrated below. So that is a sample of a general introduction. We have talked about something general. I mentioned at least the 2 characters. So again, you can take these words and use the synonyms and still formulate a good introduction to earn the 2 marks. The body. And this body, for you to make a perfect paragraph, we have several things that you're supposed to consider. Okay, a good paragraph has these three components. The topic sentence, what the whole paragraph is about. It should actually say what the whole paragraph is about. It should answer the question. And then quoting sentences. They give much information about the topic sentence, the details and everything that you want to mention. And then the clincher sentence, conclude or sums up the whole paragraph. In other words, it has several other things that you're supposed to understand. And that is, 1, the words, the action that you're describing, that is 1. Apart from the action, the characters involved in the development of the action, you can include where and the when. And finally, what are the results? So you include the results. For example, there is this common question about Nicole being firm and it yields some good results. I have that essay on my website. You'd want to check it in case it is tested. Trust me, nobody knows, but we're just trying to predict what might be there. So don't get confused by anybody because it's gonna be anything from that book. In that essay, as you summarize each paragraph, you should show which results. Maybe we have, at the end of the day, the leaders are apprehended, and that marked the end of poor governance in the municipality. So that is the good result. The conclusion. You can conclude your work in 2 ways. First, you can give a summary of the major points, and you can give your opinion. And these 2 are acceptable. If you give a summary, just do it precisely. It should not be very short, very long. And in this case, you're allowed to refer to the content. Now you know how to write an essay. We have the common mistakes in essay writing that might make you to be penalized by the examiners. And number 1, we have the narration. You're not allowed to narrate anything. And the narration is like you're giving a story about a certain event. Like Nicole received a call. She went to the principal's office and she told the principal this. The principal said this, and then mayor came, and then mayor went. No, it's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to follow this to explain using your own words, and that depends on the question. And then confusing characters, confusing Inspector Bembe and Ted. You're like talking about Inspector Bembe was a DJ, very wrong. You're going to be penalized. You should be able to differentiate or to understand the characters very well. And then misinterpreting the question. Before you begin your exam, just take your time. Read your question once, twice, thrice, and then what is the question trying to ask me to do? And then write it. We have the questions that you're supposed to include like 1 character, and the questions that you're supposed to include like the 2 characters or 3 or 4. For example, Nicole being firm, you're supposed to use the various instances that shows that Nicole is firm. But for the corruption, you can include the leaders or the characters, several characters from the book that brings out that thing. So that is what you're supposed to do at this point. And for you to get, if you have any challenge in understanding the book, my analysis is at our website. We are completing the analysis very soon because we are in chapter 4. So click that link to check it too. That's all about today. Thank you so much for watching. Let's catch up next time. All the best in your exams and bye for now.